We are supposed to solve a rational equation, and if the equation has no solution, then we are supposed to state so. So we have an equation 6 divided by x minus 4 minus 3 over x minus 3 is supposed to be equal to 6 divided by x squared minus 7x plus 12. Since we have variables in the denominator, the first thing that we need to find are the restrictions. The easiest way to do this is by looking at the right-hand side and factor the denominator, which will give us 6 divided by x minus 4 minus 3 divided by x minus 3 is equal to 6 divided by, let's have a look, negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. That means the right side factors like x minus 4 times x minus 3. Now looking at the denominators, we see that there are exactly two restrictions. Restrictions are those numbers that would turn the denominators into 0 when I would plug this number for x in. And we see from the first one that x cannot be equal to positive 4 because 4 minus 4 would be giving us 0. On the second denominator, we see that also x cannot be equal to positive 3. Now on the right-hand side, we have the same two factors, x minus 4 and x minus 3, which means that we do not gain any new restrictions. So when we solve this equation now, we always have to keep in mind that whatever our solutions are ending up going to be, they cannot be positive 4 or positive 3. The first step, this is the first thing that we have to notice. After this, we are going to multiply both sides of the equation with the least common denominator. The least common denominator, in this case, the LCD, I pick every factor from my first denominator, which would be x minus 4. I pick the denominator from my second fraction, which would be x minus 3. And when I look at the right side of my equation, I also have only factors of x minus 4 and x minus 3, which means that this is the least common denominator. Now, when we are multiplying both sides of the equation with x minus 4 times x minus 3, then in my, so let's write this down, x minus 4 times x minus 3, we are multiplying this by 6 divided by x minus 4 minus, we are multiplying the second fraction with x minus 4 times x minus 3. 3 divided by x minus 3. Now we need to move everything a little bit further down. This step is always the one that looks so long, but we know already looking ahead that something very nice is going to happen, that a lot of things are going to go away in my next step. X minus 4 times x minus 3. And the right side will also be multiplied with x minus 4 times x minus 3. What is happening now is that on the left side, the factor of x minus 4 is cancelling out in my first term. In my second term, the factor of x minus 3 is going to cancel out. And on the right side, this is the best of all, everything cancels out, and the only thing that I will be left with is positive 6. So if I now collect what I am left with, then I will get x minus 3 times 6 minus 3 times x minus 4. is supposed to be equal to 6. This is the new equation that we are gaining when we are multiplying both sides with the least common denominator. This is just a linear equation, and linear equations may or may not have solutions. The way to solve linear equations, we simplify both sides. That means on the left side we are going to use the distributive property. 6 times x, 6 times negative 3 is a negative 18. Negative 3 times x is a negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 4 will give us a positive 12. Now I'm combining like terms. That means 6x minus 3x will give us 3x. Negative 18 plus 12 will give us negative 6, which is all equal to positive 6. I am adding 6 to both sides. We are adding everything up, and we get that 3x is equal to 12. Now in the last step we are dividing both sides by positive 3, and we end up that x is equal to positive 4. Now we have to keep in mind that positive 4 is the solution to this linear equation right here. But we were looking for the solution to the rational equation. And the original rational equation had a restriction that said x could not be equal to positive 4, because it would turn some denominators into zeros. This means that the original equation did not have a solution. No solution. Because when we solved the linear equation, it turned out it was supposed to be equal to positive 4, but positive 4 was one of my restrictions.